We're in section 11.2 and continuing in our chapter on finance. And so let's take a look at a few of your homework problems. The first thing I want to do is that for this chapter, you need to have a good set of notes on some formulas that you're going to need. So here are a few slides that came from the lecture notes that you're going to make sure that you need to have these. So if you want to just copy these down or print them out, but you're going to need to know all of these variables for add-on interest. And then you're going to need to know these installment loan formulas, the amount of interest to be repaid, number of payments. You're going to need to know the APR formula. Dr. Farmer spends a good deal of time in the instructional video going over these formulas, but you're going to need to know these in order to work through these problems. So I just wanted to take a minute and copy them over at the beginning of this as well. If you have not had time to do that, you may just want to pause this video and jot these formulas down, or take a screenshot and print them out. Okay, let's look at this example. You have several of these in your homework. Credit card examples where they ask you to calculate the monthly finance charge for the credit card transaction. Assume that it takes 10 days for a payment to be received and recorded, and that the month is 30 days long. Round your answers to the nearest cent. Okay, now they may say that the month is 31 days long. And so keep an eye on that. So that can be 30 or it could be 31. So in this example, we're going to have a $550 balance, 21% interest, and a $60 monthly payment. So they're going to ask you to calculate this 3 different ways using 3 different types of calculation methods. So the first method is the previous balance method. In this method, you will basically just use the balance that you're given, and you will just plug in the information that you have. So we have the balance of $550, the 21% interest, and because the time in this case is done in years, we are 1 month, because we're talking about 30 days, it's 1 month out of 12. And so we would just say 1 divided by 12. All right, so you just plug all of that into your calculator. We would get 9.625, and you want your answers rounded to the nearest cent. So you would get $9.63. Okay, now the second method is called the adjusted balance method. And how this differs is that we'll basically take the balance and we'll go ahead and make your payment, and that will become your principal. So we're going to say the $550 minus your $60 payment, and so now your principal is going to be $490, and everything else pretty much stays the same. So so we have 490 times 0.21 times 1/12, and that gives you 8.575, and you get $8.58, which is your monthly finance charge. Okay, now the third way is actually called the average daily balance method. This takes this information into consideration, that it takes 10 days for a payment to be received and recorded, and that your month is 10 days long. So what this is going to do is that you have a balance of $550 for 10 days, and then your balance is $490 for 20 days, and you want to find the average daily balance. Now this daily is going to be important for you to remember, because this makes this method very different. Okay, so here we're finding the average daily balance. So 550 times 10, because it was 10 days, 490 times 20 for 20 days. We're dividing it by 30 because it was 30 days to find the average. When you do these calculations, you end up getting $510 as your average daily balance. Okay, now we're going to go back to this formula, but there is going to be one slight change. Now, the change comes in the T. The T is now because we are talking about a daily balance. And so now that we're talking about a daily balance, we can't assume that it's a month because some months are 30 days long and some months are 31 days long. And so you have to be able to distinguish between those two things. So in this case, we're talking about a 30-day month. And so that's in this particular case, we are going to have to take T and we're going to have to now say 30 divided by 365. Okay, so if you were talking about a 31-day month, you would say 31 divided by 365, and that would be your T. So 510, that came from your average daily balance, times 0.21, which was your interest, times the 30 divided by 365. You plug all of that in, and you get 8.8027, and you round to the nearest cent, and you get $8.80. So that is your average daily balance method. All right, here's another example. This is a car example. This one I just thought, because I couldn't find where this was gone over in the notes, but I thought I wanted to go over this with you. It says to round your answer to the nearest dollar. So again, here is where they're asking you to round to the nearest dollar. So this makes a big difference in how you have to put your answer in. So in WebAssign, you've probably learned now that formatting of your answer can really throw things off. And so you can have the right answer and just have it formatted a little wrong, and it can be wrong. So just make sure you read the details carefully. All right, make a 7% offer on a car that has a sticker price of $15,143 and a dealer cost of $13,107.75. So basically what this means is that you are making 7% offer on their cost, okay? So what you're going to do is you're going to take the dealer cost and you're going to find out what is 7% of that dealer cost. So that's going to be your first step. So we're going to take 13,107.75, multiply it times 0.07, you get 917.5425. Okay, so $917 and some change is your 7%. Now you are going to basically then take this amount and add it to the dealer cost, and that's going to be your offer. Okay, so you're going to take this amount, add it to the 13, you get 14,025 and some change. But remember, they wanted you to round to the nearest dollar. Okay, so you would go and round, and it would be 14,025, and that would actually be your final answer. So I didn't want you to get hung up on that one. I remember having some questions on this. It turns out to not be too bad of a problem. It's just the way that it's worded. All right, now let's look at another car example problem. And you have several of these, and this is a long problem. Says that assume the car can be purchased for 0% down for 60 months in lieu of a rebate. Okay, and then a car has a sticker price of $38,290 with factory and dealer rebates of $5,000. Okay, so basically you have two different choices here. You can either take the 0% down for 60 months, or they're going to give you some other kind of add-on percentage for you to take the rebates. So they'll give you rebates, but then they will give you a finance charge with that. Okay, so this is going to take you through multiple steps to solve this problem. So let's dive into this. All right, so part A says find the monthly payment if financed for 60 months at 0% APR. Round your answer to the nearest cent. Okay, so there it tells us how we're supposed to put our answer to the nearest cent. All right, 60 months at 0 APR. Now, 0 APR means that you are not going to take this rebate. Okay, so you are basically taking this amount right here, the 38,290, and you are just going to divide it by 60. And that is going to be your monthly payment. Okay, so part A is not that bad at all. So 38,290 divided by 60, you round it to the nearest cent, you get 638.17. So that's your monthly payment, $638.17. Okay, part B. Now here's where they throw in an extra deal. It says find the monthly payment if you finance at 2.5% add-on for 60 months. And now it says round your answer to the nearest cent. All right, so if we are going to finance this for 60 months with a 2.5% add-on, well, if you're going to do that, then you can, by the way this is written, you can go ahead and take the rebate of $5,000 off. All right, so the first thing is that we have to find out the total amount that you are going to be financing. All right, so the amount total, the total amount, it is given by this formula. A is equal to P times 1 plus RT. Okay, so I'm going to plug in some numbers here, but in order to find P, this is my principal. My principal is going to be the 38,290, which was my sticker price. So that's my sticker price. I'm going to take the rebate off, and so I get 33,290. So that's my P. Now let's look at what is R. R is your rate, so R should be your 2.5%. Okay, so I'm going to put that in decimal form, 0.025. T is in years. So remember, for this formula, T has to be in years. They give it to you in months right here. So you have to convert this back to years. So that's where this problem can actually kind of trip you up, is that, okay, 60 months is 5 years. Okay, so now that you know P, you know R, you know T, then you can plug it all into this formula. And so all we have to do is plug the numbers in, calculate it, and you get 37,451.25. That's the total amount to be repaid. Now we're going to divide that by 60, okay, to get our monthly payment. So we're going to divide that by 60. And whenever we divide that by 60, we get $624.19. $624.19. Okay. All right. So that's part B. Okay. Now we're going to look at part C. So now we're going to look at part C. Part C says to use the APR approximation formula to find the APR for part B, round your answer to 1 decimal place. So again, remember I told you they trick you. Well, here again, this time they want 1 decimal place, okay? So APR approximation formula, I gave you that formula at the beginning of the slides. So here's the APR approximation formula. You have N is equal to the total number of payments. R is equal to your rate. Okay, so in this particular example, we had 2 times 60. My rate was 2.5%. And then on the denominator, you put 60 plus 1. And so whenever you plug all of that in, you end up with 3 over 61, and that would end up being simplified to 4.9%. Okay, so that's how you would answer those particular types of problems. Those are the most more difficult parts of those problems. There are a few other questions that they ask with those, but I think you can figure those out for yourself. All right, one last example, and these are on the installment loan. This is installment loan question, aka the last ugly homework problem. This one is I didn't even want to type all of the problem. It just gives you a whole bunch of stuff about this problem, and then you finally get to this very you get to this formula that says the interest rebate is equal to this formula here, k times k plus 1 over n times n plus 1 times the finance charge. K is equal to the number of payments remaining, and n is equal to the total number of payments. I almost typed in blah, 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 blah over here in the front. And this type of problem is meant to try to intimidate you by giving you lots and lots and lots of words and information to try to scare you. And so, and for most of my students, it succeeds. It scares you. But really, it's not nearly as bad. If you can just kind of fine tune and look at this formula and then see the information that we need to get out of it, then you should be just fine. Okay, so I wanted to skip down and I'm going to work one of these parts for you. So I actually wanted to look at part C. So part C said that you have $10,100 borrowed at 11% on a 4-year loan with 36 months remaining. And they want you to find the interest rebate. And so what we're going to do is we're going to plug this into this formula up here. So we're going to try to find all of this information from up here. So we have to find the number of payments remaining, which they told us, 36 months remaining. So K in this case is going to be 36. N is equal to the total number of payments. Well, the total number of payments, this is a 4-year loan. So 4 years would be 4 times 12, so that would be 48. So N needs to be in the number of months, and so that would be 48. And then times the finance charge. Now, we don't have the finance charge, but you can find the finance charge very quickly using this information that you have. So what we're going to do here is we're just going to find the finance charge very quickly. We're going to do I is equal to PRT. P is our principal, which is 10,100. R is our rate, which is 11%. T is in years, which is 4. So we plug all of that in and multiply it out, and you get that the finance charge, which is I in this case, is 4444. Okay, so that's the finance charge. So now we're ready to plug everything into this formula right here. So interest rebate is equal to 36, that's K, times K plus 1, which is 37, over N, which was 48, times 49, times the finance charge, which we just found, or here. Plug all of that in, and you get 2516.76. So this would be your interest rebate. If you had borrowed this amount of money, 10,100 at 11% on a 4-year loan, and you were canceling it with 36 months remaining, this would be your interest rebate. So hopefully that will help you. This was one of the harder parts of this particular problem. So the other easier parts pretty much just use this interest rebate part formula. And so you should be able to use this example and be able to come up with answers for that. So that is section 11.2. Hopefully that will answer some of the questions that you might have. As always, if you have any questions, send me an email and I'll be glad to help you out. Thanks a lot.